Oh, that's right. And you hear it around here, Durant Ford.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah.
You know, in the old days, the dealership network was established so that they would have total control in their area of a name brand. And so they were very valuable. To have, say, a Ford franchise in the 1920s, that was worth a fortune. And so all the companies have copied that. So even today, Tesla comes out and is trying to sell cars directly to the public. I would say the jury will be out for a while. Now, is anybody interested in my prophecy on this?
Sure.
Sure.
Okay. I think, now Jimmy can weigh on this too, but I think in 10 years that the Tesla car company of today, it will be the Tesla, there may be a Tesla around, but it won't be owned by the Tesla car company of today. And the reason I think that is because they're just incredibly in debt. See,
Yeah.
the same thing that happened to all these other companies is happening to Tesla. The debt just keeps getting bigger and bigger. They can't keep up the quality. They can't keep up the demand. And the thing is just kind of slowly disintegrating, right? Now, how have people avoided that? Innovation, right? That's how Apple has been doing this. But I think Apple, they're coming up now against the wall because this last Apple $1,000, you can sell a phone for $1,000 a piece. My God, you're going to be very successful. But how long can that last, you see? And then, of course, now with Samsung coming on strong and they have real competition, it's real hard to keep two things going, to keep your costs low and keep innovations high. Henry Ford did this. He kept the costs lower and lower and lower, but he couldn't keep up in innovation. See? So then finally, when he transitioned to the A, he didn't just keep the plant going. He shut down the plant for a year and then started building the A's. So those people were out of work for a whole year. Can you imagine what that did to the economy of Detroit? I mean, it was disastrous. But
What year was that about?
well, 27, the A comes up, but he started this in 26. So his transition is the year of 26. But see, by then, General Motors was just killing him. He had all these cars, and he kept cutting prices. But the problem is, you can't cut prices. And technologically, the General Motors cars were so much farther ahead. And so this is so fascinating how this formula never fails, right? You got to either keep cutting costs or you have to improve technology. And you have to do both of them. They'll really be successful. Well, Ford did that for a long time, but ultimately he couldn't continue it. What's I think kind of surprising is General Motors is 110 years old this year. Now you say, oh, that's nice. No. How many corporations have lasted more than 100 years?
Yeah.
You can think of one or two, but the list is short. Corporations are like people. They have a lifespan. And if you live past your lifespan, you usually do so in pretty bad shape, right? And so this is it. Unless your name's Margaret McDermott, my God, 106 and still going and blowing. I mean, yeah, but that's women can do no man. You're not going to see any men over 100. Well, maybe you might make it, Jimmy. You might make it.
My grandfather lived to be 107.
Well,
Going the whole time.
So now, did you get his genes or other genes?
Both.
So let's see, we can do the math here, right? Figure out how long you're going to live. Yeah. Anyway.
Well, I heard that
yeah, go ahead.
Ford was kind of bailed out of a bad situation with Mustang
Yeah.
Yeah.
in the 60s.
Well, the thing about Mustang is it's surprising how long a run it's had.
Yeah.
And it's found a niche, low-cost sports car.
Yeah.
Lee Iacocca, I mean, this was great, but he had one great idea, and but he couldn't keep with it. he had such a brilliant idea with, when the Plymouth Voyager came out, the Dodge Caravan, he owned the market, but he wouldn't expand. He wouldn't go to 2 plants. And so it was very limited production. So you only have a window, a short time, to really make it. The longest running of all car models, is the Volkswagen Beetle. Now, here's Hitler, designed essentially, it gives it to Ferdinand Porsche, and then Porsche it comes up with a car, which they then have to, because the war comes, they have to turn it into a Jeep, essentially. And then after the war, Marshall Plan comes in, they start producing the Volkswagens. And so, depending on when you're dating it from, they were still building the original Beetle in Mexico, in Puebla, Mexico, until almost the year 2000. That's more than a 50-year run for a car model, right? Now, you could argue, well, look here, we had a Buick, but it's not quite the same thing. The Volkswagen Beetle was still essentially air-cooled rear engine, it hadn't changed. Most of these cars, are unrecognizable from where they started. Now, next week, we will do some more innovations outside of the car business. I don't know why, but I'm just so interested in this, but particularly in Henry Ford. There in Henry Ford, you see the dark and the light, the shadow and the happy side of American culture. He was brilliant, and yet at the same time, he was very kind of primitive in some ways. Yes, sir.
When did the Continental come in?
Yeah, that's a great question. Now, was the Continental a separate car, or was it just a model of Lincoln?
Model Lincoln.
But it was the town car. I mean, it was a bigger car.
Yeah, it was a
No,
big car.
the Continental is smaller than the town car.
Yeah.
Oh, the town car is bigger.
The town car is a bigger one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember, they were one of the first ones that had the windows that you didn't have to roll them up.
Yeah, push the button. Now they all cars have virtually. I grieve over this more than almost anything in car history. When Ford finally gave up on the Crown Victoria and the Grand Marquis, you talk about great cars. And they had just perfected carding. I mean, you can't improve. And Jimmy and I talked about this. Sometimes innovation doesn't really get us anywhere in some ways. If you look at an SUV, what is that? It's a Model T, right? Just modernized, right? I mean, think about it. It's got 4 wheels, it's got transmission, all of that. So technology nowadays is mostly about electronics. That's why the Tesla's been so successful. But competition is going to kill Tesla, and because you can't keep those prices like that. Yes.
One of the big things that happened was the end of World War II.
Yeah.
And everybody had not bought cars for quite a few years.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the dealers
Demand.
changed, and you went to the big dealers at that point.
Right.
You see,
Exactly.
they had 8 or 10 different types of cars that they were handling. Because I know it happened with my dad. He sold something like 20 or 30 cars, and they refused to give them to him because he had a little town. He says, "You're getting too many cars," so they wouldn't let him have it
Wow.
because he sold them to a taxi cab company.
That was a no-no. Yeah. Yeah, that's very, very, very perceptive of how much control these companies had over the dealers. They told the dealers what to do, but the dealers are saying thank you because the dealers are getting loaded, right?
Well, they were getting the heavy, expensive cars in little towns.
Yeah,
They
but
couldn't sell the
couldn't
expensive
sell.
cars.
What was the biggest dealership in Dallas, Doc or Jimmy, say in the 1950s?
For what? For Cadillac or
For
for?
any car, what would be the biggest dealership?
Ford was down on Griffin Street.
Earl Hayes is pretty big.
Earl Hayes.
Earl Hayes Chevrolet was big, but then
Well, Sue was.
There was a big Cadillac
Bankston.
dealership downtown. Bankston was big for Oldsmobile.
You know, banks and.
And W.O. Bankston, thanks for the
Yeah.
next million. He put those billboards up around town. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I
Or did
do.
you hear of that?
Yeah, well, and I remember, I'm back to, because downtown was that huge dealership.
I can't think of the one that was downtown. It was a
Lone
big-
Star.
Lone Star Cadillac
That's it.
downtown.
That's it,
Yeah,
yeah.
and then,
Mhm. Ross Avenue.
yeah.
Yeah, but I just
That's
mentioned
all
that
the
because,
dealerships were on Ross.
yeah, because Dallas has always been, from the, early days, a very mobile town. Lots of cars. Dallas grew up with the car, so it's a very different town than, say, Boston. Boston,
My first car in 55,
was it new?
brand new Ford,
In 54,
55.
55.
Yeah.
That'd be valuable
Hey,
today.
Paul,
Yeah.
before you write off
And
Tesla,
what you pay
Yeah.
for something
It
else?
wasn't what I
I
said.
suggest autobiography, Elon Musk.
Yeah, it's pretty nice.
It's a really interesting book, and
It is.
if you think about all the changes
Mm-hmm.
and innovators, he's one of the great
He
innovators
is.
of our century,
Yeah,
and change is exponential.
right.
And so if you think about the design of cars,
Mm-hmm.
car drives 60 miles an hour, car turn left here, even the driverless cars,
Yeah.
we can't imagine that we had
Yeah,
one of these things.
yeah.
Computer.
And so the exponential changes we're gonna have in the next,
Oh, yeah,
us, now Robin can imagine it,
yeah.
but the rest of us, I don't mean to throw anybody in the same generation.
Throw me under the bus.
But we're dinosaurs on it, right?
Yeah, we are. But here's the thing, like, I think Musk's idea for the boring thing is brilliant. That's me. Because you have all these traffic problems, you just bore under the cities and
Yeah.
connect it all up. And yet, that may be a bust, and yet that might be the next great thing. See, who knows? So he may, he's making his money on innovation, because he certainly isn't making selling cars. I mean, he's in the hole, what, $1 billion or something?
They can afford it.
Yeah, well, yeah, because people are willing, they just say, please, take my money, right? That's it, at some point, Doc, the thing starts.
You're right, the
And
first
then
computer was $3,000-$4,000, and then you buy one for $500,
Yeah.
and so,
And there it is.
who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
I don't pretend to know.
No, I don't either. That's why that's tongue in cheek, by the way, that's business about what's gonna happen to Tesla. The reason I think so isn't because of Tesla or Musk, but because of, there's a long tradition of these people going bust.
Sure.
Yes, sir.
You know, one of the most famous things that happened in cars was Disney.
How so?
All the kids were working in Disneyland, and of course, nearly everybody had rented cars had gone up to, to go through Disneyland.
Mhm.
And he says, as the kids came in, you go over here, the next car, you go over there. At the end of the day, they suddenly realized they put all the white cars in one lot, and all the blue cars in one lot, and all the red cars in one lot, and all their cars were rented, and nobody could find their car.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, there's a lot of good ideas that aren't so hot,
They told the kids,
Mhm.
says, do it, says, it's real smart if you thought it up, but don't do it again.
Exactly, exactly. Well, thank you. We'll look forward to seeing you. Hope your wife can come next week.
She's,